And welcome back to the Flow Sports Fix on this Thursday evening. Well, folks, yesterday in my inbox, I got an email that, well, quite honestly, it really had me incensed. I was quite angry at it because one of the things I was looking forward to with the Olympics this year, because I still believe they're going to go ahead, was seeing my beloved Team Australia play in the baseball and hopefully get a medal. And we'd spoken to, as many of you would be aware, with David Penrose from Baseball Australia about the team and the prospects and the high hopes that everyone was feeling. But yesterday an email came through about a decision that was based on the C word. You know, the C word, COVID, that's the one. And to quote Baseball Australia Chief Executive Glenn Williams, a gut-wrenching decision had to be made. And Glenn joins us right now. Glenn, how are you? Is your gut still feeling wrenched? Because mine still is.
Yeah, absolutely, Clayton. So, challenging few weeks, obviously. And landing on the decision that we did, which was, at the end, the only one that we could make, was quite challenging for sure. So, yeah, definitely gut is very much still wrenched. How
are the players feeling, firstly, when you had to tell them? Because, I mean, I'm only a fan, and this is how I'm feeling, so it must have been worse for them.
Yeah, and that's, the most challenging part. Obviously we kept them engaged throughout the whole process. We had some changes to, where the location and dates and, obviously, whenever you're trying to travel internationally around the C word and with COVID and the like, there's questions that, obviously, they had and their families had and they're the questions that we were trying to, get answered in and around, what it would look like. So letting them know, obviously, I don't think that anyone was potentially overly shocked that what happened, but obviously, quite disappointed, coming to grips with the fact that the Olympic campaign is over. And, for some guys that might have been their last chance to play for Team Australia. So as a former athlete myself, I know how much work goes into preparing for these things. I know how much effort you put in and how optimistic you need to be in terms of, meeting challenges and the like. So, yeah, obviously very difficult to be able to tell that group. They were quite disappointed, but, understanding, of the reasons why and supportive of the decision.
Now, originally you were supposed to be playing in Taiwan, but because of an outbreak there, it meant the competition had to get moved. So why was Mexico the place chosen? Why not somewhere within a reasonable flight zone for us?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. So Taiwan is the number 4 ranked team in the world. So originally, they put their hand up to be able to host the event. This is pre-COVID, and put a pretty good bid together to be able to host that event. So when 2 weeks out from an international event, when your tournament hosts closed the country down, and it's unfortunate for them because they're such great supporters of international baseball. I really feel for the Taiwanese baseball community and the work that they've done. To be able to have the event and for them to relinquish it was quite challenging. And obviously our international federation were looking for someone to host the event on short notice. The Mexican Baseball Federation, actually the president of Mexico is the global ambassador for sport. So they came to the rescue with the opportunity or the offer to be able to host the event without their team even competing in it, which was, obviously a nice act from them to do. Yep. And, based on the short time frame to making the decision, that's where the WBSP went with, and that's what we've been trying to deal with in terms of getting there and back on such short notice.
And was it mainly to do with the quarantine protocols? Was that really the big stumbling block for the whole thing?
There was a number of factors looking at it. Obviously for us getting out of the country, we worked closely with the Department of Home Affairs, who've been amazing, and we had the permissions for our athlete group to leave the country. So getting to the event wasn't necessarily the challenging part, but limited flight caps back into Australia, meant that the flight availability at the end of an event, and when you have 35 people trying to travel, trying to get them all on a plane, at the same time is impossible, basically. And so the only flights that we had potentially available were spread over the course of 7 to 10 days after the event, which created complexities on, planning any type of camp if we were to qualify and win the event and qualify for the Olympics, stay in the US or stay somewhere else. Essentially we wouldn't have had return flights home for that to be able to happen, and it would have been quite challenging to kind of meet those regulations of getting into Tokyo that all sports have to be able to do. So our only real option was to be able to get the team home safely, efficiently, into hotel quarantine, out of hotel quarantine again, and, to be able to kind of carry on with the plans that we had with the AOC. And just timing just didn't mean that it was possible for us to be able to do that.
So apart from the Australian team, how many other countries have pulled out of playing baseball in Tokyo?
So the Chinese Baseball Federation withdrew from the final qualifying events, I want to say maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago. Okay. Days are running into each other at the moment. Yeah. But I want to say about 6 weeks ago. And then Taiwan also recently had to withdraw from the event. And, again, it's the challenges that people are faced with international travel with COVID. And at the moment, so it's us, Taiwan, and the Chinese Baseball Federation who've pulled out of this last chance qualifier.
Will this have an impact on baseball staying in the Olympics? This sort of a thing happening with so many countries pulling out. Is it something that the Olympics will look at and say, well, we're not going to have this sport in again, or how's, because it could have that lasting effect. So that's sort of got me worried about the sport for itself.
Yeah, so baseball was in the Tokyo calendar and then off for Paris, so it wasn't voted in for Paris. They went with some other sports and the like, but the next Olympic Games after Paris is Los Angeles, and the feeling in the baseball community is that baseball is a sport that would want to be on the calendar there. Yeah. USA is their history with baseball and their love of the game. So I mean that's the feeling in the baseball community. I know that our international federation is working hard to get baseball on the calendar and have it there, or baseball and softball on the calendar, and have both of those sports there as long-term fixtures like they were prior to London. So I think that there's a lot of sports. I don't think baseball is immune to it. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly who the sports are, but I think that there's a fair few sports who've actually gone down the path of having to cancel qualification events and just purely going on world rankings and the like. Yep. So I don't think baseball's immune to, facing the challenges of COVID and having to make some difficult decisions. So, as much as we're disappointed that we couldn't have gone, if the events weren't taking place in the first place and it had have gone on world rankings for the last two spots, then unfortunately we were likely to miss out with USA and Taiwan ranked higher than us as well. So, I think that all sports are facing it. The IOC is facing the challenges of running your games and, everything. I think it's well documented. So, I think in the wash-up there'll be a lot of discussions around, how it was all handled. And, as much as it's challenging, for some sports that haven't had a chance to do it, the National Olympic committees and the like, I know the AOC are doing a tremendous amount of work to be able to help sports plan and to be able to help athletes get there and home safely and the like. And there's so much work that's gone into it that, so it'd be interesting to see how it all goes.
Yes, player safety and all that, it is so important, and all the officials that would go and be a part of the team as well. What about, are you aware of any other Australian team and that's going to have the same problem that's not going to be going? I mean, is softball still okay and that? Is there any others that you're aware of?
So I think that, it's a lot of it's got to do with timing. So the final Olympic qualifier was originally scheduled for April of 2020. So, I remember when COVID was first kind of coming in, it was, late February and into early March, and we were planning to be on a plane, to go to Taiwan, in April. And our Diamond Sports partners in softball had already qualified. I believe that, their qualification event, I think they might have been one of the first Australian teams to qualify for the Olympic Games, and they're one of the first group of Olympians to actually be in Tokyo at the moment. So, the timing for them, their qualification events were a lot earlier than ours. They had the chance to be able to go. They qualified, and they've been, planning, it seems like a long, long time now to be able to get there. So it was, great to be able to, disappointing for us, but really great to see those, the softball players over in Japan already and preparing for the event, and no doubt they'll go out there and give the opportunity of being on the podium a real shake. I'm
sure you'll be cheering on without any doubt. All right, that's the situation. Absolutely. Well, just casting forward the other side of the Olympics, we've got a new ABL season, and I was talking with David a little while back about an ABLW. So, can you give us any updates as how all that's looking? Are all plans going ahead? Can we have a very positive ABL season this year?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of planning going on at the moment, with the ABL, and a pretty significant debrief at the end of a challenging COVID-affected season, and the fact that the teams and the league was so agile and did what they could to be able to get games on last year in the ABL was a credit to everyone involved. So, we had recent meetings up in Sydney to be able to talk about ABL season 21-22. Planning is, underway, and I think that everyone's excited and hoping for more of a regular type season. And then, one of my first events that I went to as the CEO for Baseball Australia was the Australian Women's Showcase down there in Adelaide, which was the first step towards, an ABLW that I know that everyone has been working really, really hard for, for a long, long time. And, there's some, really good support for that. The Women's Showcase event was really well received, and, we're, obviously planning towards doing what we can to, run a successful ABL season and look to launch an Australian Baseball League, Women's League as well. So, a lot of work to be able to do. A lot of time between now and the start of the season, but there's some good things for baseball on the horizon, that's for sure.
All right, looking forward to hearing more about that, no doubt, in the weeks and that ahead. Well, Glenn, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you spending some time with us and getting it direct from you what was going on. And my gut still feels a bit wrenched by it, but I understand and that it's a bit frustrating. But hopefully the softball girls will be able to do the right thing by us. But thank you so much for spending time with us and chatting with us today on the Flow Sports Fix.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Clayton.